Hello, fiends, and welcome to Figure Study, where we're doing a corny Halloween thing that I'm already breaking because this is just silly. But I figured might as well keep it seasonally appropriate, so we are looking at Mythic Legion's Vorgus Vermillius, the Blood Armor, by Four Horsemen Studio, or Studios. I can't remember which. It's not that important. But anyway, Vorgus here, along with the Warrior and the female Iron Knight, were my first figures, and so far only figures, from the Mythic Legions line. And I gotta say, I'm pretty darn impressed, especially with Vorgus here. Vorgus here is gorgeous. Gorgeous Vorgus. Anyway, I was thinking, what do I have that's Halloween appropriate? Well, how about cursed armor that has to murder people to stay alive, I think? Maybe. It's hard for me to tell because, just to give you all an example here, this is Vorgus's bio, and that's really tiny text. Even before I needed glasses, I would have had a lot of trouble reading that. So if you want to know his backstory, pause it, take a look. I actually don't know the full backstory either because I haven't bothered to read it because it is so freaking tiny. But basically, cursed armor, which I think is definitely fitting for Halloween. So, Vorgus. For anyone who is unfamiliar, let me move this up a bit. For anyone who's unfamiliar with Mythic Legions, it's basically a sort of fantasy-themed series of figures by Four Horsemen Studios, whichever. It's got like a really interesting design, and all of the figures are, in a way, kind of modular. Like, they're self-contained figures, but they're constructed in such a way that they're not that difficult to pop apart into different pieces. So, like, if you had two different figures, you could, say, pop, like if I wanted to, I could pop the arm off of Vorgus here and then, like, attach that to a different figure and give him, like, a different kind of look. Okay, sorry about that. Had to futz with the camera a little bit because things were getting a little bit annoying. But anyway, they're designed to sort of be modular with the idea that you could like pop off heads, arms, individual bits. If I wanted to, I could pop Vorgus in half and take the kind of hip waist skirt thing off. A lot of the weapons are modular, like the axe is in this configuration, double-bladed with this little point here, but then if I wanted to, I could take one of the blades off and put a cap on it, so it's like a single-bladed axe. It's a very interesting and kind of modular series. Moving on to Vorgus, as you can see here, the way I've got him set up, I've got him with his sword, which is a bigger kind of two-handed sword, but I've got him holding it in one hand because I think it looks cool. And he's got the double-bladed axe, which I will take these out of his hands because I feel like we should probably just get a move on with this because I've been talking for almost 5 minutes now. We'll just get him kind of situated, and we can look at the accessories. So, the axe it's a nice mixture of kind of like a gunmetal and a weathered red color, very similar to the armor here. And as I said, it's modular, so you can pop the blade piece off, and then there's a cap. It's a little pointed thing you can stick on there and make it a single-bladed axe. But then you've also got, like, this piece can come off and can go over there, or this piece on the end here can come off. So you've got lots of different options for how you want the different things to look. And that's just with this one set. There are other sets and like other weapons, and they're all kind of interconnectable like that. At least some of them, like axes and hammers and stuff like that. The swords, clearly the sword, like, it doesn't come apart, but there are still options with the other sets, which is cool. And I like the sculpting in there. It actually kind of looks like there's some kind of leathery material wrapped around the grips. Very cool, very ornate. Same deal with the sword. It's got that red kind of weathered effect on the hilt and grip, and then this kind of gunmetal-y silvery color for the actual blade, and some schmutz on there, which, whatever. But nicely done. Now, because of the way this series works, he comes with other accessories as well. And again, it's designed to be sort of like mix and match, display how you want. So he comes with this giganto-spear that's significantly taller than he is. I'm going to put it right next to him. You can see it's up there, and it's just kind of a silver stick until you get to the end, which is nicely sculpted. I certainly would want to get stabbed with that. Also comes with this leather-looking belt thing, which I've seen it used in a few different ways, and of course, you have a lot of options. But basically, it's designed so that you can slot weapons into the slit there, like that, and then you can put it around the waist, or have it like diagonally along the chest, or even just like over the shoulder, and it works as kind of a sheath of sorts. Not really a sheath, but it's a way to have weapons kind of held without putting them in his hands. Also comes with this thing, which I believe the way this works is there are these there's this slot on the back there. This pegs in there, and then you can have like a sword kind of wedged up in there to hold it in place, which I'm not a huge fan of, but it's an option. And then you also get these pieces, which are functionally the same in that they have that same kind of peg there, and they peg into the back, and that's where those go. The difference between the two is basically just the size of the ports there, because they're designed to hold wings, which can be purchased separately or come with other figures. And so you've got the small wings and the big wings, and you can just peg them onto the back and then have the wings splayed out. I do not have any wings. Vorgus doesn't come with any wings, but it's cool that that option is there. Lastly, these shoulder pauldrons and the cape itself are also extra bits, which I'm doing a terrible job of keeping that on camera. There we go. And there you can see the ports and stuff on the back there. So you've got the individual pauldrons that just peg into his back like you saw, and because of the way that they're designed, they can hinge up and down pretty easily. And then you've got the cape, which is just fabric, and you've got the 4 holes in there, and there's no official way there's no instructions or anything like that that shows a specific way to do this. The way that I do it, and this could be wrong, but the way that I've set this up is I just do like the 2 holes on one side, I thread the peg through those, through both of them, like so, and then do the same on the other side, and then peg them onto the back, and then you get the cape. And it's, I would prefer if it could come around the shoulder, which you can kind of fake if you peg this back in. I'll try and keep this on camera this time. So if you peg this back in, and I'm just showing it on one because it's easiest. So you can like peg that back in and then have this kind of come up. But the only problem with that is you have this extra fabric that doesn't quite sit right. You can kind of fudge it a little bit. The only problem with that is it's not super secure, so you could like tug it out of place, and then you've got this hole down there. That's why I have the 2 pegged in, but we're just going to leave the cape off to the side for now. We will come back to the pauldrons, though. And so that is it for the accessories. I guess technically speaking, the horns can also be considered accessories, because yes, they totally come off, and he looks kind of far less threatening without them. The nice thing about them popping off is it also means that you have options. Like you can angle the horns up, you can angle the horns back, you can angle them forward. One of the things that I tend to prefer is to kind of try and keep them level with the eyes, or as you saw before, like slightly above the eye line. And then you can also angle it down. Like you got lots of options. And it's really cool how many options you have with just like one figure from this line. So in terms of general aesthetic, he's very ornate, very simply colored. It's just that kind of blood red color. Obviously, they went with blood red for the blood armor, with this kind of weathering effect all over it. And it looks really, really good. Like, yeah, it's monochromatic, but I really like the tones that they used here, because the red with the weathering makes those details stick out really, really well, even in like lower light situations, less optimal lighting situations, I should say. It's like you can still see a lot of details all over this guy, even before bringing him closer to the camera. Actually, bringing him closer to the camera, you can see that again, there's just a lot of really nice detail in here, like the segmented plates for the foot. He doesn't actually have a toe bend. It's one solid piece, as you can see, but it's got like the jointed armor design there to make it look like if he did have a toe bend, it would totally work. And some nice plated armor along the shins that also has some nice ornate detailing in a few places. Knee pads, the thighs, if we move this out of the way, you can see there's even some ornate carving in there. And what looks like it could be like a chainmail kind of thing around the hips. The hip skirts, waist skirts, whatever you want to call them, also very nicely detailed and this really nice layered plating effect. And as I said, if you wanted to, you can not so difficult. There we go. It's not so difficult to pop them in half. And then you can take this off, put it on another figure, pop them back together. Modularity. It's cool. You also have things like even this little front skirt piece is pegged in under the waist, so you can pop this out, and there you can see just pops right in there. So, as I said, modular. Okay, now moving on to the rest of the armor. Again, just going to keep saying this, very ornate, nicely detailed carving all throughout the chest plate, up into these little shoulder bits here. Go around to the back. The back is fairly plain, like the actual back is plain, but like, you know, they had to keep it flatter because there's all these pegs and stuff back there. But even like the backs of the legs, the backs of the thighs, the butt, the backs of the arms, there's really nice detailing. Oh, and this collar piece is softer, so it can move and get out of the way if you need it to as you're moving the head around. But it's also, as you probably expect, removable. So if you don't want it there, you can pop it off. I'm going to leave it on, though. And moving on to the arms, it's, again, very nice little ornate detailing and, again, layered plating. Just looks so cool. Going along the shoulders, you can see there's like some chainmail detailing on the inside of the elbow. Nice armor detailing around the outside. The gauntlets look great. And again, ornate detailing right down to the hands with like all these little segments in there, even on the fingers. It looks so good. The sculpting on these is great. The paint job, definitely simple, like I said, but it works. It works so well. And then we come to that head, which is appropriately imposing. Actually, if I move it up there, you can see there's even some detailing on the neck. It's like this really cool slit visor, but it's like this almost bat-like, like vaguely bat-like shape. It makes it look evil. There's all the like spiky bits around the eye slit there. It's a really nice shape to this helmet, and the horns definitely help. And the horns, you can see, have some nice sculpting in them as well. And then along to the back, there's this layered effect along the back of the head. So it's all really cool. I just love this. It's really imposing. It doesn't necessarily have personality because it's just armor. You don't see a face or eyes or anything like that. But at the same time, I feel like that works in its favor. This feels like something that if you looked at it and someone was like, oh yeah, that's supposed to be cursed armor, they'd be like, oh yeah, I see it. That with the shoulder pauldrons, oh, it looks so good. I mean, I know I've got my weak spot for big shoulders, but like this really makes the armor feel complete to me. Without the shoulder pauldrons, it's still not bad, but like this just feels right. The pauldrons themselves, again, lots of really nice ornate detailing in there. And it just looks great. Though I'm just now noticing this kind of hot pink scratch there. Like, I don't know if that's a scratch or if something went wrong with the painting. That kind of sucks. But, I'm just noticing it now, so who really cares? Oh, yes, and because this is a non-transforming figure, I should probably go over the articulations. So, starting at the feet, they can point out and move up, and then swivel. and that is very similar to like the Black Series figures for Star Wars. However, the legs or the feet can also turn left and right. It's not just pivoting here. They can also do this. So you've got lots of range there. You actually have a swivel at the knee, which isn't great because of the shape of everything, but like it's there. And the knee itself bends not quite 90 degrees, which could be better, but I don't really care. I mean, considering all of the intricate detailing and paint jobs on these figures, I really don't care that the articulation's a little bit limited in places. Legs can go out pretty darn far, even with these, because this is like a softer plastic. And then in addition to the knee swivel, you also have an actual thigh swivel. And then, of course, can kick forward a bunch and kick back also a bunch. So plenty of articulation in the legs. The waist is one big old ball joint. So you get the swivel, but you also get, you can arch back, can bend forward, and then you can also get a little bit of side-to-side tilt there. For the shoulders are hindered by the pauldrons a bit. Get this out of the way so I can show you unhindered versus hindered. So the shoulders are kind of what you'd expect. They can go out almost full T-pose, but you know, the joints and things banging into each other doesn't quite fit all the way, but still goes out pretty far. And rotate all the way around. There is a elbow swivel, so it's not actually a bicep swivel. I do kind of wish there was a bicep swivel, but elbow swivel's okay. But in addition to the elbow swivel, you also have a forearm swivel, kind of like what was going on with the feet there. And then you also have a wrist swivel, which is hard to show without this moving. There we go. Wrist swivel, and then the wrists also can go in and out. And the in and out is the same on both sides, which is, because all of these, or most of these figures are melee, I feel like it'd be nicer if you could do like up and down on the wrist, but it doesn't really work that way. And then as far as the articulation with the pauldron goes, you can actually get the arm out more or less as far as you can without the pauldron on there, because it's softer plastic and it also just kind of moves up along where it's pegged in along with that joint. So that works really well. And then you can also, you can't swing it forward and all the way around, obviously, but you can still swing it forward pretty far. And if you like move the pauldron up out of the way, it can kind of accommodate pretty well, even back. And then the head is, it's basically, there's a peg for the neck. Yeah, there we go. Oh no. So there's the peg that pegs in, that of course can swivel, and then you have a ball joint going up into the head itself. Quite a decent amount of range there, and you can see where the collar pegs in there too. So, got decent down, decent up, rotation, and then very good tilt. And of course, as I said, you can rotate the horns, find a display option that suits you best. Yeah, I'm really impressed with this. So impressed that I actually forgot to specifically show off the elbows. So yeah, the elbows move a little bit less than 90. Also would have been great if they could go a little bit further, but, you know. It's bulky, cursed armor. I think all of the I think all of the movement that it does have is pretty great for what I would want. It would be nice if it, you know, had a little bit more range, but it doesn't really bother me. But yes, Vorgus is really cool. And is, as I understand it, something that I'm extremely lucky to have gotten my hands on, because I guess Vorgus was from one of the earlier waves and has been rather difficult to track down because, I mean, look at this thing. It's awesome. So, of course, it's something that a lot of people want. I was lucky I was able to snag mine from Four Horsemen Studios directly when they had their stock sale about 3-4 months ago, however long that was. Yes, I'm extremely, extremely happy with this. It looks so awesome. The coloring, as I said, very monochromatic, but like that blood red with just the weathering effect looks so good on a set of what is basically medieval armor, or medieval-inspired armor. Fantasy armor, whatever you want to call it. The proportions are great, the detailing is great, the pauldrons are just awesome. And he is very nicely posable. I mean, he's got limitations primarily in the elbows and knees, but still, you can get some really good poses out of this guy. And you don't really need really good poses out of this guy, because like just standing here and turning the head, like even just doing that, like that's creepy. I really like that. So I do believe that is enough ranting and raving about how awesome this figure is. But yes, if you have not heard of Mythic Legions, or if you've been curious and thinking of checking them out, I highly recommend, whenever the opportunity presents itself, to try and get your hands on a figure, either by grabbing one that's inexpensive that you're interested in, or if you know anyone who has them, like just get some hands-on time with these things, because they are really cool and incredibly well detailed. But what are your thoughts on Vorgus Vermillius? Would you prefer a little bit more color in there, or does the sort of red and black color scheme, like just those two colors primarily, work for you as well? And how do you feel about the accessories? Is there anything that you feel like he should have come with that he didn't? If you are familiar with the Mythic Legion stuff, which figure in your collection is your favorite? I mean, there are a lot of Mythic Legions figures, so I've got all of 3, or I've had all of 3. I don't have the Silver Knight anymore, but I know there are a lot, and with that many, there's bound to be differences in terms of like what each person's favorite is, because I've seen some other ones out there that look fantastic. I just haven't had the opportunity to get them myself. Whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. And while you're at it, also feel free to like, subscribe, or if you're feeling generous, you could buy me a coffee. Any of those things would make me a happy Rob. And remember, I forgot to do size comparisons. Whoops. Let's do that right now. Actually, I can finish closing things out once we're done. Ah, he looks so cool. Okay, size comparisons. Here's Vorgus with a standard Transformers Deluxe. So he's not just imposing, he is also pretty big. For a more action figure appropriate size comparison, there's Vorgus with the Star Wars Black Series Clone Commander Obi-Wan Kenobi. Still love that I was able to get this guy. And you can see he's, I think this still qualifies as 6-inch scale. I mean, it may be a little bigger than 6-inch scale, I don't know, but I feel like this works, because, again, it's, cursed armor. I feel like it being a little bit taller than the average human is, it makes sense. And lastly, here he is with the duck tank. Okay, now we can call it done. So, thank you for watching, everybody. That's a little weird. Okay. As I was saying, thank you, everybody, for... Really? How is this even... Okay, wait, this is starting to get a little... Okay, come on, someone's messing up. Okay. Right, so you know that it was... Okay, calm down. It's just a joke. Just messing around. It's a running gag. Okay, wait, no.
Rob, I'm home. Rob? 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 Rob, are you okay? Are you filming? What's going on?